Okay. Hopefully we got it working now. It's a little less picky right now. I literally just spent the last 15 minutes arguing with the camera and the green screen effect. I don't know what's going on with this thing tonight. It's decided to be a jerk about it. But Happy New Year. So this is the opportunity for exploration of what we're doing for this new year. So this is my New Year's resolutions for here as well. Why are parts of my head invisible? I'm not green. I swear I'm not the Hulk. Anyway, so the goal for the coming year for this channel is to have at least 2 updates a week for this channel. One of them's more of a vlog about small business startup, and the other is more of a lifestyle vlog, I guess. But I'm still debating some of that. Some of that may be a little bit more of the, you can help me. Tell me what you think. Some of this will be starting small businesses, so I have some plans for some of the small business startup how-tos, and not really how-tos, but how I'm trying to start some small online businesses for myself. And the other content that I feel would be appropriate would be doing some of that content about like dealing with the medical industry, or topics like why I'm having to do my own business rather than seek employment from employers in traditional sense. Largely, this will be discussion of topics of making your way in the world as a person on the spectrum. If this is news to you, hi, I'm on the spectrum. Should not be a surprise. Um, so I don't want to be specifically just another autism spectrum channel without anything else to it. I want to put my own spin on some of that. And some of that will be about how how I could start small businesses and other things of that nature on this channel. Because that was the original intent of this channel in the first place, was to do small business creation and opportunities, side hustles as some people call them. Part of that's because for me, the idea of doing one specific thing, like years ago, I came up with a design for a handmade pen that's sort of a multi-tool pen. Cool idea. I love this idea. I have zero interest in that being the focus of my entire existence for 40 some odd years, to build up the better pen industry. It's not my goal. It's not my strength. It's not my goal. I want something more out of life. And so part of that for me is when I've done art tables at conventions, or basically art tables at a convention, you'd see a lot of the other tables would have one thing they did, like Fimo clay or polymer clay sushi charms for phone cases and keychains and earrings, I guess. They did polymer clay sushi. Cool. They were neat. That's all they did. When I had my table, I had at least 7 different things at my table. Hand-drawn cartography for role-playing games, plushy stuffed animals, mantle clocks that I made inside of decor items. I had a web comic at the time. So I had my biggest seller, well, my two biggest sellers were handcrafted magic wands with embedded in the handle pieces of meteor. And the other one was these, I got some copper flashing and I folded it like origami to make insects, like praying mantis, dragonfly. I think I had one or two others, like a grasshopper. And those were really popular, like copper bugs, folded copper bugs. And you'll notice that none of them have anything to do with any of the others on the list. So, like, the typical pattern of one item at a table at a given time wasn't how I did things. And during that time, the often recommended approach to doing a table at a convention was don't expect to make your table costs back in your first year or two doing it. Well, I made my table costs, but I also made my hotel room and travel costs back the first year. The second year I did it, and I did it by playing to my strong suits. And so for me, one of my strong suits is to have a diversity of things that I do and share, and don't rely specifically on one thing heavily. So with that in mind, my ambition is to do a weekly online business video, and then on top of that, do a weekly vlog as a person on the spectrum in the world today kind of thing. That'll be a little bit more vloggy because it's not targeted towards particular things I'm working on. It's more along the lines of, like, one of the first ones I want to do for that category of content is a video about how doctors should be interacting with people on the spectrum. Because I've had a hard run the last several years, in particular, of medical gaslighting and neglect from my primary care physician, to the point where they've contacted me recently saying it's time to set up your appointment for your annual appointment. And I'm like, why would I go back to you? Not only have I not gotten the help that I asked to get, but everything that you've done has made me worse off than if I had not bothered to go to you in the first place. So there's just an element of, like, I haven't sent that reply back, but I'm sorely tempted to. And it's all because they have not been handling my health care in a way that's reasonable or even functional. Every time I've gone in, I've ended up worse. And it doesn't have to be that way. There are ways that we can make this work in a way that achieves what I need from them. It's just like there are better ways to do this, and I have a sort of a list of things that we could be working on with doctors to make things better for us. So that's sort of like one of the things I could do about that. The other is a little more like in depth of the experience of understanding what the experience of somebody like me is. And some of that is just down to the fact that, like, for most of my life, if you had asked me if I had certain symptoms that are usually considered common among people on the spectrum, I'd say, like, that's not a problem for me. Except for I do have reactions or issues with some of those things. I just figured it was the same as everybody else's. I didn't notice I was having symptoms or issues with certain things. Like, people talk about sensory sensitivities in people on the spectrum, and one of the things I would say is, like, I don't think I ever had sensory sensitivities, except for I felt like I could never go through those department stores when I was younger in the mall with family traveling to the stores because the perfume counter was a freaking nightmare. It was excruciating. It felt like somebody sandblasted the interior of my nostrils. But I never equated that to being a sensory sensitivity. I didn't realize that that's not everybody else's experience. So I could do videos on some of those topics, like from the perspective of finding out that these are things that are bothering me without realizing they are things that have always been an issue for me. But also as a sort of a means of highlighting what people who aren't on the spectrum can understand about somebody like me that they don't currently understand. So that's sort of the goal, the idea of what I want to try to do this coming year. So the two categories of content being small business and maybe art related. So, like, because a lot of my businesses are going to be creative endeavors, they're going to be maybe just some simple art videos, creating and discussing the business side of doing artwork as well as the creation of artworks on this channel. That'll overlap a little bit with some of my other channels, but I hope that that doesn't become the primary focus. Maybe it will. This is going to be more of my vlog style, my adventure in being a business person. And then the other end of the spectrum is the vlog style lifestyle discussion of my experiences as somebody on the spectrum. If that's too cluttered, let me know. Let's make this a dialogue in the comments or what have you about whether or not we can build this channel in a way that's conducive to a good experience for me creating and you as a watcher. So that's the New Year's resolution for this channel. Happy New Year's, and I will see you in the new coming year.